Chapter 12. Days went by and Mandy's mood did not improve. Though, honestly, it was much nicer to stay at her place instead of my apartment. She had an actual stove, an actual fridge, and an actual bathroom. Lily was really nice to me too. She would always come and check on me, asking that I stay quiet while she live-streamed in return. That mystery drug was really working too. I obviously didn't feel 100% the next day, but I felt much, much better. 50%, maybe. I noticed that it had been negatively affecting my mood, though. Checking the news threw me into a frenzy. If it weren't for my injuries, I might have started throwing things. Mandy was throwing things regardless. Her thirst for revenge hadn't dwindled a bit. I brought up the issue to her. "Mandy, this isn't justice, it's revenge," I said. "So?" was her answer, and it was honestly quite convincing. I tried ignoring her when she was looking at the floor plans of the mansion. She was planning mass murder, and nothing Lily or I said would convince her not to. And every breath that stung my abdomen, and every limping step I took, made me care about her enemy's demise less and less. I knew it wasn't right. I knew. But I didn't care. The couch was actually pretty comfy. Couches usually give you a stiff neck when you fall asleep on them, but this one was kinda nice. It wasn't entirely private, but the girls left me alone for the most part. I felt like a bit of a bum, though. Here I was, sitting on someone else's couch, not going to work. It wasn't like I didn't try, though. The first night I had to call off because I was in so much pain. My boss shouted at me for it, and about missing work the day before. The night after, I showed up to the hospital, but had to leave. I'm pretty sure I'm getting fired. Whatever. I can fall back on massage therapy. But as I was on the couch and Lily was streaming, Mandy poked her head out of her room and vigorously gestured at me to come to her. So I did. "What's up?" I asked. "I'm sad," she said, hanging her head. "Oh, why's that?" "I don't know. I'm just sad," she said. "Oh. What did you need me for?" I asked. "I don't know," she said again. "I just need a hug, I think." "I can do that." I moved in and embraced her. Yep, that's definitely helping," she said. "What are you up to?" "Nothing really," I replied. "Do you think we can snuggle for a little bit?" My heart jumped. What do you mean?" I asked. "Just hugging laying down. Standing hurts," she said. Sure." So we went to her bed and snuggled. She tucked in right under my arm and buried her head into my chest. She wrapped her arm around my abdomen, and her hand twitched as she inched it lower down. She was silent for a moment. "Can I see it?" I didn't want to assume I knew what she meant by that, so I asked, "See what?" She looked down near my waist, and my heart nearly exploded until she said, "Where you were shot. I want to see what they did to you." "Oh, sure." And I lifted my shirt to show her the wound in my stomach. She covered her mouth as soon as she saw it. It was kind of rough to look at. The hole was closed with clotted black blood. The area around it was bruised green and purple. She placed her hand over it and gave it a tiny squeeze, and then she sobbed. "I can't believe they did this to you," she said. "I'm so angry." "Don't be angry," I said. "I'm okay. You're okay." "You're not okay. I get so angry every time I watch you take a step. You can't even walk. You're in pain." And she cried harder as she tucked her face into my neck. I petted her hair, because I wasn't sure what else to do. She was really worried about me. Her injuries were even worse than mine, and she was worried about me. I felt bad about that. She was even more worried about me than I was about her.
They're going to pay for what they did to you. I'm so sorry this happened to you, Jace. I told you I was going to protect you, and I didn't. I hate myself. I hate myself.
She cried and cried into my shoulder. Hey, what about you? I want to see yours too, I said. I'm worried about you too, you know.
What are you talking about? You've been treating me. You know what my wounds look like.
That was true, and admittedly hers were looking better than mine. I was even taking the drugs too, but her wounds were closing up really fast. The bullet graze on the edge of her abdomen had new skin growing on it already. The wound on her arm was lagging in its healing, it seemed, at least compared to the others. A few times a day she would pout at me and ask to open a jar for her. All of her grip was gone in that arm. Luckily it was her left arm, and she was right-handed. I could barely stand treating the wound in her hip, from how far she had to pull her pants down for me to get to it. She was in very good shape. She pulled my shirt back down and softly patted my stomach.
Medic massage cooking boy. You're so perfect.
And she nuzzled me.
I'm so pissed this happened to you.
Her voice was filled with gravelly hatred.
I'm going to paint that entire mansion red.
Mandy, please, I said. I caressed her face. Please don't do that. We survived. We don't need revenge. Those words tasted like earwax. I didn't believe them. Seeing how this upset her so much made me want to go on a rampage. That and the drugs. These healing drugs were making me aggressive and angry, and jealous and possessive. I tried lying to myself, just like I tried lying to Mandy. We don't need revenge, I said. We didn't need revenge. We wanted revenge. She pulled her head up from my chest and raised her eyebrow at me. I don't think it's a good thing to do. It's an evil thing.
So? I never said I was a good person. You've known what I am since the day you met me. I'm a killer. I'm not a good person.
What was I supposed to say to that? She was right. But I needed to say more. It wasn't just her integrity of character I was worried about. Please, Mandy. I'm scared. I'm scared for you. These guys are dangerous. They're killers, too. I have nightmares of what could happen to you. I pulled her closer, careful to not jostle her too much, and careful not to squeeze her wounds. I don't want you to get hurt. I can't stand seeing you limp around either. I can feel you tense up every time you take a breath as I'm holding you. It makes me so sad. I don't want you to be hurt. I don't want you to get killed.
I'm not going to get killed,
she said as she struggled to sit up.
I'm going in with a plan. I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I could.
Okay, I get all the other ones. At the bank, they were in the middle of a robbery. At the laundromat, they attacked us. How do you plan on getting away with mass murder unprovoked? She lifted her shirt to show her bullet hole.
Unprovoked?
She pointed to the hole in her arm as well.
You think I'm going to jail for this? What, you think the Mafia is going to call the cops on me? The Mafia is going to want the cops in their business conducting investigations on their turf? On their home base? I hate that you think I'm stupid.
I'm sorry, I said. I don't think you're stupid. I'm just scared. She laid back down next to me.
Then you'd better help me come up with a good plan.
The next day, we drove about a quarter mile away from the mansion. Lily mapped out the route for us to take through the woods. The journey was rough. Mandy and I limped along through the brush, up and down hills and over dead trees and rocks. We ended up on a ridge high above the mansion. I was a bit anxious, since all anyone would need to do to spot us was look up. The mansion was plain for us to see, and so were we. But Mandy took the camera Lily gave her and started climbing up a tree. Whoa, are you okay to do that? I asked.
Yeah? Why?
I'm worried about your injuries, I said.
It's fine. Those drugs make you stronger too, for as long as you take them.
I hadn't thought about it, but what she said was true. The hike out here hurt, but it hadn't exhausted me. I even noticed that when I took my shirt off, my abs were starting to poke through. Hers were too. At least a little. I thought it was just me losing weight from not being able to eat as much. I'm still not sure what exactly it was we were taking. Probably some kind of growth hormone and steroid cocktail. Mandy strapped the camera to the tree and took a minute to adjust and point it the right way. Then, as she came down, her grip slipped and she fell right on top of me, knocking me to the ground. Luckily, I was there to break her fall, and there was a lot of soft and tall grass to land on.
His hand is still weak,
she said. For some reason, she adjusted herself and made herself comfortable on top of me, and nestled her head on my chest. Are you all right? I asked. I wasn't sure if she had aggravated any of her injuries in the fall.
Yeah,
she replied. She didn't seem to be in any hurry to get off of me, though. Her guns were jamming into my stomach, but I was far too bashful to tell her. So I just put my hands on her back to sort of hug her, in a way. I gave her the, "Okay, that's enough," pat on the back, but she didn't budge. I figured she probably needed this. So often she had expressed never receiving a friendly touch, that she had known nothing but violence her whole life. Still, every second that passed became more and more awkward. She had snuggled next to me before, but being on top of me was something new.
The camera's set up, she said. Now all we do is wait.
And so we did. As soon as we got back to the house, Lily showed us that the camera was functioning exactly as intended. For the next 3 days, all Mandy did was sit in front of the monitor, watching, thinking, plotting. I figured I was well enough to go back to work, but as expected, I wasn't well received. I tried explaining that I had been shot and even showed my bullet wounds, but my boss wasn't impressed. "We need someone on the road in the ambulance," he said. Needless to say, I had already been replaced, and the paperwork to fire me had already been processed. I wasn't going to stay and beg. There was probably a salon or something in the city where I could take on clients and just fall back on massage therapy. Or anything, really. I'm a skilled guy. Mandy wouldn't let me go back to my apartment. In fact, she demanded I cancel my rent and move out permanently and just live with her and Lily. I had no problems complying, but I had to go and get my stuff at least. Mandy insisted on coming with me to do that too. I only had a handful of things. I'm not too materialistic. Just some clothes, my laptop, toiletries, a few books, stuff like that. Luckily, I still had all the boxes laying out from when I moved in. And just like that, all of my plans had been ruined. Everything I had planned to do in the city had failed. I lost my job that I spent 2 years studying and $10,000 to get, left my apartment that I had spent months researching so I would be close to the hospital. Everything was upturned. And it was freeing and exciting. I thought I knew what my life would be like. I thought I had it all figured out. I spent my life building and engineering this finely tuned clock so every tick went exactly as I wanted. But this girl came in and broke my well-tuned clock. The cogs were scattered on the floor, and I felt good about it. A normal person could easily accuse me of losing my mind, and maybe I had lost my mind. And then the day came. Mandy was confident she knew everything she needed to complete her mission.
I count no more than 30 in the building at a time. The most are there around 3 o'clock. I'm guessing that's when they have some meeting, so they should all be in one room or something. But I want them separated. Even if I had a 30-round mag, I would have to land 30 consecutive headshots in under 2 seconds if I didn't want to give them time to react. So I'm going with the 10-round 458. 1 shot, 1 kill. Safest bet. I want to divert their attention, split them up.
Mandy took a printout of the floor plan of the mansion.
There's a window up on the west side, first floor. I'm going to throw a Molotov in there. See this hallway? Anyone trying to put out the fire should be stacked up right there in a line. 5, 6, 12, 20, doesn't matter. I mag dump down that hallway, they're all going down. That should give me enough time to reload if I hide behind this wall here. I can't say for sure where they'll all be, or where they'll be coming from, but this room right here on the second floor seems like a good bet. See how big it is? Who knows? Maybe they meet in the basement. It won't matter. Anyway, if they manage to put the fire out, the smoke will force them to evacuate. That's when I start popping them. If they can't put it out, they all burn to death.
I don't know about this, I said. They're probably going to have guns. You're talking like it'll be so easy.
If they were expecting me, I wouldn't even try it. But I'm dead as far as they're concerned. They're going to have handguns on them. We know they have access to select fire rifles, but I haven't seen anyone walk out with one. They don't live like me. They aren't expecting an ambush all day, every day. Hell, I'd go at night if I didn't think I could get more during the day.
So your goal is to take out as many as possible? How is this reasonable retaliation? I asked.
Would you shut up about this already? I don't need to justify myself to you. Besides, I'm doing the city a favor. These guys kill thousands of innocent people every year with guns, with drugs, with knives, cars, and they don't need to justify why they do it. If I kill a few dozen people to save 1,000, how does that make me the bad guy? If I didn't, that's like if I murdered those 1,000 or so people myself.
That logic is awfully flawed, I said.
I don't care. That's not even why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I'm pissed. And that's a good enough reason. I don't want to hear another word out of you about this. So are you going to drive me, or am I walking?
I'll drive. So she suited up with a bulletproof vest, her rifle slung over her shoulder, pouches for her extra ammo, holsters for her handguns, and extra ammo for those as well. Lily gave her an extra long hug before we left.
Please be safe, Mand,
she said, choking back tears.
I will! Gosh, why does everyone think I'm a moron? I'll be fine. I've played this in my head over and over again every day. Every possibility, what I would do for any contingency. You guys are acting like I've never done this before.
I was shocked. You've done this before? I didn't get a response. The car ride was silent and awkward. I was a little afraid of confronting her about this anymore, since she had 3 guns on her. But each second that passed ramped my anxiety higher. Not only was what she was doing wrong, but I was worried for her as well. What was I supposed to do if things went wrong? That was all I could think of. I could only think of what would go wrong. I parked the car a little down the road from the mansion.
Leave it running. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
And she got out of the car and limped into the woods. This was it. She was actually going to do it. Gunshots rang through the trees. Bang, bang, bang! Then silence. Then bang, bang, bang! Then nothing for a few seconds. Then bang, 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 bang! Bang, 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 bang! Each shot ruined my heart's rhythm. I started to sweat. The gunshots continued. I couldn't keep track of them all. Then silence. Silence. The silence was worse than the gunshots. Everything that could have gone wrong ran through my head. I couldn't help but imagine her dead in a pool of her own blood, her corpse mutilated by bullets. Suddenly, a black SUV ripped down the driveway, and an emaciated, tattooed man hung out the passenger side window. He pointed a gun at me as he drove by, and shot at the window twice. He missed, but I also ducked down out of the way. I popped my head up, and the SUV was speeding away. Then my phone rang. It was Mandy. I answered. Mandy? Her voice was calm and confident.
Jace, I need you. Get up here.